How's it going, everybody? Nathaniel from RCInsight here, and today I am re-reviewing the Perplexus Warp. I reviewed this Perplexus about 5 years ago, and since then a lot has changed. It's currently one of the more viewed videos on my channel, and so I really wanted to give an updated review for this because my channel has changed, my review style has changed, and I wanted to create a much more concise and clear review for you guys. And also, 5 years is a lot of time, so I want to give you kind of an updated opinion on this Perplexus with all the Perplexuses that have come out in the future now as well. So the Perplexus Warp was the first Perplexus to come out after the original creators of Perplexus sold off the rights to it, and it was started to be produced by other companies. Eventually, Spin Master bought them, but this is kind of in that limbo period. I believe this Perplexus is, in fact, made and distributed by Spin Master, but it is the first one after those original 4 Perplexuses, which were the original Rookie, Epic, and Twist. And so this Perplexus definitely takes some strides to differentiate itself. First off, right off the bat, you will notice that it is not a perfect sphere like the other Perplexuses. It has a bit of an oblong shape. It is, a little bit warped, hence the name. And so it definitely has a different feel and look and presentation. It also has a hard plastic outside as opposed to the softer plastic that we were familiar with from previous Perplexuses. I said in my Death Star re-review that the Death Star was the only one to have the harder outer plastic, but this one does, as well as does the Perplexus Lightspeed. Those are the 3 that have hard outer shells that I am aware of. And I actually like it. It has a little more weight to it, but it definitely makes it feel a little more solid as well. So this Perplexus has obstacles 1 through 70, but talking about how it differentiates itself from previous Perplexuses, it doesn't actually have the numbers laid out on the track. It simply has very well-defined arrows. Now, it is 1 through 70, but it also has 2 checkpoints, Zone 2 and Zone 3, as well as the start. So there are some places for you to catch up if you fall off, so you don't have to go all the way back to the start. So it is relatively forgiving in that area. So talking about how this set tries to differentiate itself from past Perplexuses, almost everything in here you could argue is a relatively unique obstacle. There's not a lot of stuff that is super similar to the original Perplexuses, but it does still definitely feel like a Perplexus game. So talking about unique obstacles here, this one, like I said, it has quite a lot of them. It starts off right away with something that we hadn't seen before, where you have this alternating drop section where you have to drop the marble down these pegs here to the end, and then the second obstacle uses this unique slider piece, which is the external feature that this Perplexus has. So this Perplexus has a little slider that you use to move the marble along the track, and it was the second Perplexus to feature kind of an external play feature like this. I don't like it nearly as much as the Twist, but it is, an interesting little thing, and it creates a relatively unique obstacle experience. It certainly doesn't detract from this Perplexus, in my opinion. Then we have this really unique dipped stair section that then turns into an arch stair section, which again is something I haven't seen before. And then we get to use the other side of this slider section. That is not it for new obstacles on this thing, however. This Perplexus is the first one to introduce the cascading cups sort of obstacle, which obviously gets reused and elaborated upon in the Perplexus Mini Cascading Cup set, but you'll notice there are actually 3 separate cup sections here, so they don't all link together in one. You go through them 3 times, dropping from these cups to another, and I really, really like the design on the cups. I'll get to that later. Then there's also some really nice usage of this center white circle here that goes around the whole thing for some unique obstacles. There's, again, a really cool obstacle here where you are basically flipping it back and forth, because you'll see those kind of white barriers there. That's the only way to get through that section. You basically have to quickly flip it back and forth, and again, that is a very unique and different obstacle, and I really, really like that. Lastly here, in terms of unique obstacles that I want to point out, is just at the end here, there's this little swivel section where the marble latches on and swivels through the end, and then it's basically the end of the maze there, and you drop through. So like I said, this really takes its time to differentiate itself from other Perplexuses. Tons of unique obstacles. There are still, of course, some obstacles that pay homage to the original, though, which is, I think, why this actually strikes a pretty good balance. And so you'll notice up here, for example, we have a pretty classic middle track section where the ball rolls along the middle of the groove there around this kind of wavy line piece. That's a very, very classic Perplexus obstacle. Likewise, we have some very brief curved one-wall sections here and even a nice butterfly section. Just one of them is used here, but nonetheless, we still have one. So there are some more original obstacles like that in here as well. It's not totally lacking them, but there's a lot of new here to try and differentiate it. So from a design perspective, as I had already mentioned, it has that oblong shape, and I actually like the way the shape is. It's a bit of a different challenge to have not a perfect sphere to manipulate, and overall, the color scheme and the way this looks, I think, is really cool, particularly with that white ring through the middle. I really like what they did with the cascading cups here to make them all look very different and unique. I think that's an awesome little addition. They didn't have to do that, but I think it looks great. And those cascading cups prove for actually a pretty challenging obstacle, and their design can come into that. If there was one complaint I had to have about the design here, it's the fact that there's this ring that goes all the way around the outside here, and it's used for the checkpoints and the start. It's great if you are on the correct side. It's easy to hop back onto the track, but if you are on the wrong side like this, it is a little bit annoying to try and get the ball through to the other side. It's not a big deal, but it can be a little bit annoying to get it from one side to the other like you just saw me do there. Unlike the twist where I said, don't be deceived by the fact that it says 1 through 30, it's actually quite long. This Perplexus maze is almost the opposite of that. It is actually much shorter than it looks, I would say. The 1 through 70 is not as long as this feels, and I think they get away with that because they don't have the numbers on the course. It definitely, despite looking longer, there's a lot of open space in here because of the cascading cup sections, and so it's actually not a super long Perplexus. I'd say it's shorter even than the Rookie, though not as short as the new Perplexus Go sets. Overall, it is not a very big Perplexus. It's one of the smaller ones, but that does not mean that it is still not challenging. And so while I would say it is shorter than the Perplexus Rookie, I would be hesitant to say it's easier. It's certainly not super difficult. It's not difficult on the level of the Epic or anything like that, but I think it's in and around somewhere between Rookie and Original for difficulty. It does have the 3 checkpoints, which make it a little easier, but going start to finish on this without falling off is quite challenging. I've done it a few times before, but not a lot, because there are a lot of places where you can mess up here, and a lot of drop sections, obviously, because of the cups. So overall, I quite like this Perplexus. It's not my favorite, but it still feels like a Perplexus experience, and it's not too much of a departure from the originals, but it does set itself apart in several ways, as I've talked about. I'd say this is absolutely still a part of that core Perplexus experience, and if you are a Perplexus fan, it's going to be one of those Perplexuses that you're going to want to have. It's a lot of fun. It's no longer available for sale directly, but it'll obviously be available for resale. You can find it on Amazon, eBay, anything like that. And if you don't have it, I'd say it's definitely worth the buy. While it's not my favorite, and there's others that I would get over it, at some point I'd say this is definitely worth picking up. It's still a fun Perplexus, and hey, you know, it's my second most viewed video on the channel, so maybe there's some additional affection and nostalgia for it because of that. But overall, I think it's still a pretty good Perplexus set, and one that you're going to want to have in your collection if you're trying to get all of them, or at least all the main ones. So that is my updated review, my re-review for the Perplexus Warp, guys. I still like it like I did in the old days, but there are some better ones now that have come out. It's not my favorite. If you guys like this video, however, click the like button down below. It's always a great way to show your support. Let me know what you think of this Perplexus if you have it. Subscribe for more Perplexus content like this. I have tons of Perplexus content on my channel, reviews, walkthroughs, all that sort of stuff, and I got more coming. So again, if any of that interests you, subscribe so you can be notified as soon as those videos come out. And with all that said, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.